Hello there, I am Lady Loy. You'll find me on Lovers Rock Radio on a Friday 7 till 9 and on Gold Standard Radio on a Saturday 7 till 9. Fridays it's nostalgic vibes. Saturdays it's dancehall, soca, new music, new artists, that kind of stuff. But today I wanted to talk about Jesse Jackson, somebody who is very renowned in American world, and where we have touched on him in the UK through glimpses. So I just wanted to say something about how his life impacted us, if it did, in the UK. I know it definitely did in America. So, Jesse Jackson, a life that touched the movement. So I'd like to talk about Jesse Jackson because news of his recent death has brought his name back into everyday conversation. And for many of us, he's always been a familiar figure, even if we only knew him in moments and snapshots in the UK. He was one of those leaders whose presence stretched across decades, so much so that you could grow up hearing his name without always stopping to think about the full weight of his story. Jesse Jackson was born in 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina, in the Deep South during segregation. He came of age at the time when Black Americans were still fighting for basic rights that today many people take for granted. As a young minister, he became involved in the civil rights movement, and he worked closely with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was present during key campaigns of that era, including the Selma to Montgomery marches in 1965, which were central to securing voting rights for Black Americans. After Dr. King was assassinated in 1968, a new generation of leaders had to decide how the movement would continue. Jesse Jackson was a part of that generation. He did not step away from the public life. Instead, he leaned further in. He founded Operation PUSH, which stands for People United to Save Humanity, focusing on economic opportunity, voter registration, and corporate accountability. Later, he expanded that work into what he called the Rainbow Coalition, bringing together different communities, blacks, Latinos, working class whites, labour groups, under a shared political vision. His message was that change required coalition, not isolation. Many people connect his name with the affirmation, "I am somebody," although the original poem was written by Reverend William Holmes Borders Sr. Jesse Jackson helped bring that chant into national consciousness. It became something children recited in schools and churches. A simple but powerful reminder of dignity at a time when many black children were navigating systems that did not affirm them. So these words mattered. He also made history by running for president of the United States as a Democrat in 1984 and again in 1988. It's easy to forget how bold that was at that time. This was long before Barack Obama, a black man mounting a serious national campaign, winning delegates, standing on major stages like Grant Park in Chicago, and addressing Democratic national conventions. That shifted the political imagination. He did not win the nomination, but he proved that black leadership could compete on the highest national platform. And he pushed issues like poverty and voter access into the centre of party politics. His career was not without controversy. Over the years, he faced criticism for certain remarks and political alliances. He apologised publicly when he caused offence. And like many long-serving public figures, he was both praised and challenged. He had contact at different points with a range of influential black leaders, including Malcolm X and Louis Farrakhan, reflecting the broad and sometimes complicated landscapes of black political thought in the decades after 1960s. Beyond politics, he also took on diplomatic efforts, at times negotiating for the release of American hostages abroad. Supporters saw him as someone willing to use his visibility to help in difficult situations. Critics questioned aspects of those interventions, but throughout his life he positioned himself as an advocate for those who felt locked out of power. In later years, he faced health challenges, including public diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. Watching him age in public was a reminder that the civil rights generation is not abstract history. These are people who carried enormous responsibility on their shoulders for decades. For many Black Americans, Jesse Jackson represented continuity, a bridge between the church-led civil rights protests of the 1960s and the political campaigns of the 1980s and beyond. He carried the language of moral justice into the practical world of ballots, policies, and economic access. He believed in protest, but he also believed in negotiation and participation in the political system. As news of his death circulates, the tributes reflect different angles of his life. Some focus on his role in the movement. Some remember the presidential campaigns. Others recall hearing him speak and feeling seen, encouraged, or challenged. It is often like that with leaders who serve for decades. Their impact shows up in different ways for different people. What feels clear is that Jesse Jackson lived his life in public service during some of the most pivotal chapters of modern American history. From segregation to voting right marches, from Operation Push to national political campaigns. His name threads through the story of Black political progress in the United States. With his passing, another chapter of that civil rights generation closes. It invites us not only to remember the headlines, but also to consider what their work set in motion and what still remains unfinished. This reflection, or should I say my reflection, is based on publicly available historical records and widely reported accounts of Jesse Jackson's life and public service, shared in response to news of his death for community awareness and understanding. So I hope that it gives you a little insight into his life and whether or not you feel it's relevant to us in the UK or not, I'm not sure, but I think when you do see people break the mold or people who speak up or people who appear fearless, it kind of makes, it kind of sets a precedent, doesn't it? It kind of makes you feel, yeah, you know, there is somebody out there who is willing to speak up for us, for the poor, for the marginalised. And and it takes some kind of courage and bravery to do that. So I guess sharing that piece of information will go down in history, and it's pertinent that it's Black History Month in America. In the UK, Black History Month is in October. So otherwise I can imagine in America how they must be really rallying and promoting everything about him at this time. So that's all I've got to say. Like I said, if you do want to tune in on a Friday, we have a chat room there. You just go to Lovers Rock Radio, www.loversrockradio.com. You go to the top left hand, you'll see 3 little lines, and you click on that and you can actually go to the chat room and have a chat with the other people in the chat room and even me. So I'll leave that up to you. And if you can't make Friday, you can do the Saturday one, roller coaster, depending on your taste. It's a bit more aggressive, the Saturday one. And also, I'm on Mixcloud, www.mixcloud.com/lady-loy. So you've got no excuse to miss my shows. And I hope you found this useful. You take care now. Bye-bye. And thanks for listening.